right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Well, I can tell you, I don't want to see 40s. I want to see 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe 80s at one point. Thanks a lot, and welcome inside the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. Andrew Fillipponi will join me in a matter of moments over to 93.7 The Fan Cam, and we're going to start tonight's show with the Pitt Panthers with a big win against Syracuse. Keep the tournament hopes alive. 412-575-2600 is the number. You know, I was listening to you guys on the way in, Pony, and you were basically saying Pitt was a lock. You love Pitt minus 10 or 10.5 or whatever it was. And when they were down 16 at one point, and I was like, oh my God. I was buying into Pony and all the hype of Pitt is going to run away with this one, and then I completely gave up, and then they stormed back in the second half.
No Pony jinx there. Syracuse is one of the worst college basketball teams really ever in that program's history, and I've been following it for almost 40 years. This is as bad as they've ever been. They've only had one losing season in the last 50 years, and this one's going to be a second, and they are just a complete train wreck, and for Pitt, almost a deja vu situation. Going back to Virginia, they needed to win, they won, and they had an excellent second half. Zach Austin played a tremendous game. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, called the game on our radio station, Richie. And I'm not here to get political, but he said it was an electric atmosphere tonight at the Pete. Well, they say that politicians are professional liars. Richie, you've been to great games. You've seen 12,000 people there. You've seen standing room only where you can't even hear yourself think. You can't even hear what the person next to you is saying. That was not electric tonight. There was probably 3,500 fans there, and it was a sad commentary on what's happened to the Pitt-Syracuse rivalry. So good when Richie Walsh was in school there, a part of that great track team. And my goodness, have things changed, because Syracuse is terrible, and Pitt is more like an average basketball team. And I just thought the quality of play tonight was horrendous.
Yeah, you couldn't even move in those games if you were a fan. There were fans jumping on the scores table.
Oh, I loved it.
It was unbelievable. I remember a couple years back, I'm trying to think of what year it was, maybe 15 or 16 or 17. It was so bad in a game against Syracuse that Syracuse fans were sitting in the zoo section. Do you remember that one?
I remember there was a host of a radio station who's a Syracuse alum who, when Tyler Ennis made a half-court shot, was caught cheering in the press box. It was not me, but I think you might know who that person is. He's still working in Pittsburgh sports media, and that created for a bit of an awkward moment. And I remember Richie Walsh in those early days of the Peterson Event Center when Pitt would play Syracuse, when Syracuse was the first team to hand Pitt a loss inside that beautiful new building. So those were the golden days, the good old days, and we're a far cry from those days. And really, Richie, Pitt cannot afford another loss. They got to go to Notre Dame and win on Saturday, which has been a very difficult place for them to win, even in years where Notre Dame wasn't any good. And they got to go to Louisville and win. That Louisville win would be a signature win for them, and that's about a week away.
Yeah, you brought up the glory days, and before we get to our question, our live question of the night, can they get back to that point? Are you optimistic that maybe Capel can get them back to close to what they were at the end of Ben Howland, beginning of Jamie Dixon era?
So when you say that, that's really, asking me, do I think they can be a team that goes to the Sweet 16?
Yeah.
And that has not happened in such a long time that I'm going to answer that question no. I mean, the ACC is just not the league that Pitt thought it was joining when that happened such a long time ago. They're not putting a lot of teams in the NCAA tournament anymore. Right now, this year, there's Duke, Louisville, Clemson, and then there's everybody else. I mean, North Carolina's probably going to miss the tournament this season. NC State made the Final Four last year. They're not even going to make the ACC tournament this year. So the league has been down for a while, and given the gap in money, the TV money that goes to ACC schools compared to the Big Ten and the SEC, I don't see that gap shrinking. So to answer your question right now, I think it's an economical question, Richie. I do not think that Pitt is going to have an easy time getting back to those days.
Well, how do you get it back there? I mean, obviously the ACC is not going to get more money, right? I mean, what do you need to do?
You got to luck into a great transfer class. I mean, as things go right now in college basketball, Well, look at, for example, Duquesne. I mean, last year they made the tournament. They won a tournament game the first time in 40 years. They're going to have a losing record this year. Robert Morris was not very good last year. They might make the NCAA tournament this year. So we can see things change quickly. And so I don't doubt that Pitt could get back to being a tournament team next year with a whole new roster of players. But it's just the margin for error in the ACC is so small. The days of being a 500 team in ACC play and making the NCAA tournament where half the league would make the tournament, that's just not happening anymore.
But I would debate that Pitt basketball probably is the closest team in Pittsburgh of getting to a championship because you only need one or two guys. And if you can luck out to one or two guys, you could potentially make a run.
Well, that means that Bucco fever that you once had has completely gone away. I mean, that is non-existent.
Well, with the $69 million payroll, I don't have Bucco fever right now.
No. And will you ever get it back?
I hope.
Is the question.
I mean, I have 3 years to do it, right? With Paul Skeens. I'm thinking he has about 3 more years before they're looking to trade him, maybe 4. And that's their window, 4 years. And then if they don't win anything in 4 years, I think we could be in for another long haul of losing. All right, our live poll question of the night. We're switching gears to the Steelers. Just scan the QR code. We'll talk more Steelers after the break. But who will be the Steelers quarterback next year? Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers. Right now, Justin Fields is the leader in the clubhouse with 72%. I want to get your take, Pony, but we got to take a break first. Back in a couple minutes. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. This is our GMC Tweet of the Night. Back-to-back Panther wins. Pitt 80, final 69 over the Syracuse Orange. Not a good tweet there for Pony, but was a good tweet early on, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it, about your Daniel Jones tweet. You're hearing that the Steelers potentially could be interested in Daniel Jones. I don't know how I feel about that one, and that was one of the reasons for this question here tonight. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones, or Aaron Rodgers. Who would the fans out there like to see? For me, it's Justin Fields. I don't know about anyone else. I think Russell Wilson would be second if I had to rank all these guys, and then probably Daniel Jones and Aaron Rodgers. He's the one guy I do not want on this team. I don't know how you feel. Maybe Mike Tomlin thinks he is the one guy that he can fix, though.
Well, you're talking about Daniel Jones or Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers, plus George Pickens seems to want to play with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I had not seen that. You're going to have to pass that along to me, Richie. Maybe we can make that the tweet of the night tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if did he even say it on Twitter. I'm not sure.
No, it was a video that someone posted about George Pickens wanting to play. It was on one of those Steelers blog sites. Yeah, I saw that.
Well, anyways, the thing that Aaron Rodgers would do that Mike Tomlin loves is that he doesn't turn the ball over. He's got the lowest interception rate in NFL history. So there's obviously a lot of nonsense and a lot of baggage that comes with Aaron Rodgers. But that's one thing he's consistently done, and that's been Tomlin's biggest pet peeve with quarterbacks is turning the ball over. You know, the Daniel Jones thing, and look, I don't think it would work because I think that Mike Tomlin would do the same thing to Daniel Jones he's done to other quarterbacks, and that's basically put them in handcuffs. And I don't even think, honestly, that Daniel Jones is good enough where if you didn't put him in handcuffs, you'd win. So I'm not advocating for it. Yeah. I'm not saying it would be a good idea. All I'm saying is if you actually think about it, and this is why I was surprised there was so much controversy with this, if Russell Wilson isn't wanted back here by the coaches, and if Justin Fields decides to go sign with the Jets or somebody like that, Richie, who are you going to get?
Yeah, you need one.
And basically, the thing about Daniel Jones that was explained to me was he is very mobile, way more mobile than people actually think. He had over 700 rushing yards a couple of years ago. He's mobile. He really doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. He'll fumble the ball, but so does Justin Fields. And if Tomlin's all about mobile quarterbacks, and if Arthur Smith made it work with Ryan Tannehill, if your options are, just hypothetically, you either pay Justin Fields $20 million or Daniel Jones $5 million, or maybe if they can't even get Fields, what are you going to do? And so I think among the leftover quarterbacks, and don't get me wrong, I mean, it is an ugly crop of free agent quarterbacks. I don't know why anybody would be surprised if that's the guy they pick among the scrap heap quarterbacks that are left out there, Richie.
Yeah. That would be a disaster, though. But what do you think about, Art Rooney told Bob Pompiani in that interview that they want similar quarterbacks. They want a similar quarterback room. What if they do
well,
go
Jones
after,
and Fields are very similar.
That's the point I was trying to make here. If you could get Justin Fields for, $8 to $10 million, I think that's his number. Spot Track has it at right around there. And I
then
think
get
that's a fair
Jones as the
number.
backup?
And get Jones as the backup.
Right. I could easily see that.
I can live with it. I think I like that. I mean, I don't love it, but I like it. Worst thing that could happen, they win 4 games and they're drafting in the top 5.
I mean, the person that, I'm not going to divulge here a lot of information, but as far as, because I'm not allowed to, but the person that was saying this to me was like, they've signed Mitch Trubisky and they've traded for Justin Fields. They kind of have a type when it comes to quarterbacks that get released, traded, or are free agents. He fits that mold.
Yeah.
If you actually look at his numbers, you could easily make a case, Richie, that he's been a better quarterback in the NFL than Justin Fields. Easily. He's won a playoff game in the last few years and played great in that game, which is something we obviously can't say about Justin Fields or frankly, anybody on the Steelers roster for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, a high pedigree type guy that was drafted high. That's Justin Fields. That's Mitch Trubisky. That's what the Steelers look at. So it makes sense when you say that. I don't know if I'd want Daniel Jones as a starting quarterback for this team.
I don't.
But
I don't either.
If he is Justin Fields' backup, I think it makes a lot of sense. And essentially, you could get 2 quarterbacks for half the price of an elite starting quarterback.
Well, the problem is no elite starting quarterbacks are available.
Yeah.
Unless Matthew Stafford ends up getting traded, which I still think is a possibility. There just seems to be a very weird thing going on there between the Rams and Stafford, where Stafford almost feels like he's disrespected. And I'm not really sure where that's coming from. I mean, they gave up so much to get him. And then they tried to ease things or smooth things over by giving him a contract extension or a new deal before the start of last year. So we'll see what happens there. But as I've told you before, he would obviously shoot up my list if he becomes available, because I thought he was great in the playoffs for the Rams this year.
Yeah, I'd love to see Stafford here. I wouldn't love to see the Steelers give up a second-round pick for him. If it was like a 5th or a 4th, I could deal with it, but I don't want to give up a
fifth
second.
or a 4th. I mean, the Rams would need to have their heads examined if they did that.
I'm just saying. That's what I would want to give up for him. I don't want to give up a second. I'd rather take my chances on one of these other guys and stink for a couple years, and that's how I get my quarterback of the future. Let's go out to the phones and go to Josiah out in San Antonio. How you doing, Josiah?
All right, yourself, Rich. Hey, Andrew. I think it's going to go the way Andrews is saying. I think it's going to go where we're going to lose Russell Wilson. They're going to lose Fields to the Jets, the Giants, or just some other team. And out of all these quarterbacks, I want Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I'm sorry, he's a vet, and I know he's got a lot of drama. I know he's got a lot of chaos, but he's a proven winner. And I think if you get him outside of that terrible Jets organization, bring him somewhere stable, a little bit like the Steelers, I think the Steelers could actually win at least 10 games with Rodgers if they won 10 with Russell Wilson.
Hey, Pony, he fits in that Russell Wilson kind of mold of he's going to be cheap.
Well, you think so. I mean, you'd like to think he would be, that he's not going to demand more than like $20 million a year.
Yeah, but aren't the Jets still paying him something?
We got to see how that works out. I don't know how much of that money was guaranteed to him and they still owe him, so I have not really dug in on the contract. That's my fault.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest with you. If that ends up happening, okay, I don't think it will, but if it did, it makes sense the way that Josiah laid it out. Like, they believe they can win now. Aaron Rodgers has won 4 MVPs. He beat Mike Tomlin in the Super Bowl. And Richie, every time they've played against each other, you just get the sense that Tomlin loves Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers loves Mike Tomlin. And maybe that's changed with the way Rodgers has played and got hurt last year or the year before last. But The one thing we know Mike believes he can do is get people to believe in what they're doing or what the team is doing, to buy into what the Steelers are doing. And so he might look at it like a challenge. Hey, this guy's an all-time great quarterback. I believe I can get him here and get him to play the way that I want to play and become more of a team-first guy. So I used to think after Ben Roethlisberger, Mike was like, no, I don't want guys like that. But he's desperate to win. And he might talk himself into Aaron Rodgers being the best option, as you said, if the price is right.
Hey, maybe you could get Devontae Adams, too. But here's the problem with Rodgers. He's gone off the deep end the last couple years. I mean, like,
there's no doubt it's a problem. It's a huge problem. I agree. I'm with you on that, man. That's why I don't want it.
Yeah, I don't want it either. All right, we need to take a break. Back in a couple minutes.